Hey everybody, this is herculespetix, founder, curator, docent, and gift shop employee of the herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies. Today we're going to look at Batman number 539 to 543, continuing our look at the Doug Munch, Kelly Jones run on this title. Let's get cracking. So we start off with number 539, and this is a one-shot. And this is the Boneyard Blues. Another nice cover from Jones, as is to be expected. And kind of an interesting way to start off, well, of course, after the beautiful introductory panel of Batman. We see this guy, he's a grave digger, he's a grave robber, and he's singing this weird blues song. And so it's Doug Munch for 3 pages just writing these kind of blues lyrics. It's just all about death, this song. No more loving, no more fun. Grass above me, stealing the sun. 6 feet of dirt crushing me down. Last I knew, out painting the town. No more walks to my brand new shoes, moaning them lifeless boneyard blues. And I believe this is a character we've never seen before. So he opens up the grave, and he takes all the bones. This corpse is quite desiccated, where there's no flesh left on it. And that's exactly what he wants. He grabs up all the bones and heads out. Look at this weird speckling background he does. Almost looks like static on a TV. Very odd. This guy's, basically his moniker is the Undertaker. So then we see Detective Bach from GCPD. And he's meeting with these people whose, it was their grandfather whose grave was desecrated. So Jim Gordon calls in Batman for this case because it's so kind of crazy. I guess this has been going on for a little while. This guy's been digging up graves repeatedly. It's kind of weird. He sends them a note, the family, in sincere appreciation of your loved one's contribution. So I guess he sends the note in this weird little box that's made from bones. It looks like finger bones and toe bones, little tiny bones. Once again, beautiful coloring from Greg Wright and great art. So that's kind of a weird face on Batman. We see the Undertaker at his craft. He has his dead father's skeleton in a chair that he talks to. Apparently the father wanted him to take over his undertaking business, and he wanted to be an artist. But he caved in to his father, and so has been an undertaker. But I guess after his father died, he kind of went full-on crazy, and he just said, I'm going to do what I want to do, basically art. So in his mind, he's making art out of all these bones. That's quite a honker he's got there. Batman's looking in on the case, doing some detective work. And basically this Undertaker, his mortuary that he inherited from his father, it's one of the biggest ones in the city. So he's basically digging up people because he has all the records of all the people they've buried over, 3 generations. So he's actually looking for specific sized bones for his work. Like, oh, I need a femur that's exactly 16 and a half inches. And he has these records, so that's what he digs up next. Whatever's needed for his artwork. This is a pretty good story for Kelly Jones, who's really good at horror. It's basically just like a horror story. Also kind of a detective story. You know, Batman getting back to his detective roots. Because a lot of it's him trying to figure out who could be doing this. And, of course, Batman's a smarty pants. And he figures out that this mortuary has buried all these people over the years. So there's a connection. But then he finds out that his own parents were buried by this mortuary, Ostine and Son. So now it's personal. It's kind of weird. They do a panel you have to flip. I never liked that in comics, no matter how well it's done. It's a beautiful panel, but it really takes you out of the story having to flip the comic like that. These are some really interesting panels of Batman here. Look at him all tortured here. You know, dramatical. And so he finally comes to the mortuary to confront this guy. And he's quite angry because he's imagining the Undertaker, you know, grave robbing his own parents. And just the thought of it fills him with outrage. There's another weird, interesting panel too. Just Batman's with his cape is just, it's abstract almost. Just like a weird shape. Some interesting panel stuff here going on. Batman crashes into this one room, finds all of his artwork, quote unquote. And it's almost like he's made this little fort out of bones. And he's inside, the Undertaker. He comes out swinging with like a femur or something. And there's a little fight scene. Oh man, that's so Wrightson is there. That's very Wrightson. Batman pretty easily takes this guy out. He's just a normal dude, you know. That looks like someone else, not Kelly Jones. I can't put my finger on it. And obviously Batman is very moved by all this. He's actually talking to the skeletons, saying, I'm sorry for not noticing this sooner, for not stopping this guy. You know, I'm so sorry that your graves were desecrated and your memories were besmirched. And I guess the Undertaker choked on a chicken bone while he was in jail. He never made it to trial. And they suspect that he snapped the bone and swallowed it deliberately. Just basically killed himself. And we end with a little verse from the Boneyard Blues. And then we have a little teaser panel for the crossover with the Spectre in the next issue. Well, the next two issues. That's a pretty crazy cover. Number 540. This is Kelly Jones getting to do his what he does best. So this is the Spectre of Vengeance, Part 1, Gotham Welcome. And we start off, Batman's looking for this guy named Damon Chagru. And one of the guys says, oh, I think he's at the corner pocket, which is a pool hall. Meanwhile, New York City, we see a firefighter rescuing people from a burning building. And we see the Spectre's alter ego, Jim Corrigan. He's talking to a fellow officer. Apparently it's a work of arson, this fire. And it's not just, like a financial thing. A family lived above this warehouse, or this hardware store, sorry. And they were all of them are killed. So of course Jim Corrigan, being the avatar of vengeance of the Spectre, he's like, okay, I'm gonna get to the bottom of this. That almost looks like Kevin Nolan there. So meanwhile, we see the corner pocket, and we see that Damon Chagru guy. He's a lieutenant in the Black Mask Gang. Remember them from like 20 issues ago? He's not wearing his mask though. It's quite a face there. And Batman is stalking him. Oh, look, guys, I haven't seen this in so many issues. I've been remiss in pointing these out. I haven't seen him, though. It's that weird little puppeteer with the Batman puppet. In the first few issues, it seemed like they were in every issue. And maybe they have been in every issue, and I just am too dense to notice. But I totally was just thinking about that a couple weeks ago. I was like, hey, whatever happened to that guy? But there he is. So Batman swoops down and before we see him take on this guy, we see the Chagru guy, and he says, hey, I'm supposed to meet a guy named Tony Sparks here from New York City. He's here? Is he here? The proprietor says, not yet, friend. And that's when Batman walks in. Chagru tries to throw a cue ball at him. That's a really well-drawn panel right there. Also, like, kind of un-Kelly Jones-like. Yet, once again, I can't place who it reminds me of. Really nice, though. Of course, Batman makes short work of this guy. He's just a kind of a fat slob. And the proprietor tells Batman about how he was supposed to meet this guy named Tony Sparks. I kind of like this proprietor. How like Batman's like, hey, sorry for the disturbance. And he's like, oh, I enjoyed it. Have a nice night, Batman. Like he's one of the few low life people who's just like, thumbs up to you. I didn't like that guy anyway. So meanwhile, we're back in New York City. There's this guy who supposedly pals around with Tony Sparks, some low-life criminal, and Jim Corrigan and his partner are interrogating him. He's sweating, it looks like, profusely, even though it looks like freckles on his face. Not very well done sweat. Jim Corrigan uses his Spectre power to scare the guy. It's a pretty great panel. And the guy spills his beans. He's like, yeah, Tony's leaving. Tony left. He's going to Gotham City. He's going to try to hook up with the Black Mask Gang. As we saw at that pool hall. He was going to meet that Chagru guy. So now we're back in Gotham City. And Tony Sparks shows up looking for Damon Chagru, of course. And the proprietor says, too late, my friend. The Batman took care of him, took him out. Another kind of Kevin Nolan-y panel. But not really. Just doesn't look like Kelly Jones. So this is, we've seen billboards in the past 2 issues and placards and advertisements for this late night talk show DJ named Vesper Fairchild. And Bruce Wayne is being interviewed for the show because Alfred has been trying to push Bruce to get out more in his Bruce Wayne persona. Because Batman, basically for the past 4 years, has just let his Bruce Wayne half wither and just atrophy. So Alfred, the past year or so, has been trying to be like, come on, you have to go to this party. You have to make an appearance. Bruce Wayne, has to exist. So he booked him on this radio show. And as soon as the show starts, we just see all the reason why these panels look so disjointed, it's just various people in Gotham listening to this show and making little comments. But Bruce starts flirting with her really blatantly. And Alfred's just shocked. He's listening in. And like, it seems like he's a little overly shocked, to be honest. It's kind of sad, you know. The one flaw in Kelly Jones is his inconsistency in faces. So it's a stylistic thing. I think he just gets bored and likes to draw different faces, but she looks really weird there. That's an odd face. It's like Don Simpson drew her or something. And then we see even the random people in Gotham are all kind of just like, oh my God, Bruce Wayne. Look at Alfred here. It looks like he has the measles. I think it's supposed to be sweat. That's how worked up he is. I thought this reaction was very off. I think Doug Munch, Alfred wouldn't be this perturbed. Bruce Wayne has been playing a playboy for years. It's, whatever. It just seems silly. Especially because I guess it wouldn't be so bad if the sweat on his face wasn't so badly drawn that it looked like he had measles. So it's like they even set up a date. Like, at first Alfred just was like, oh, very good, Master Bruce, doing your playboy persona. And then he realized it was more than that. And that's what got him so perturbed. So now we're in jail. We see that Jason Shagru guy. He's basically, through his crooked lawyer, he's still giving commands to the masked gang. And he basically he thinks that he's been double-crossed by Tony Sparks. He thinks it was all a setup. He doesn't realize that, you know, Batman sussed out that he was going to be there. He's blaming Sparks. So he wants his gang members to give him a proper Gotham welcome. So we see Batman and Vesper on their first kind of date, getting coffee after the radio show. And they plan to meet again. And this definitely isn't an act. Bruce really seems interested in her. Something about these two pages, probably my two least favorite pages in this whole run. Maybe it's just because it's just two people talking and Kelly Jones's faces keep changing. But I also gotta say, this issue, it does seem like there's a drop in his pencils. Or maybe it's the inks. I mean, eventually, how long can they keep going month after month of this high quality shit? Something's gotta give, right? There's still amazing panels like this. But some of this stuff is like a little, just not up to the standards that this comic has. So the Black Mask Gang, we see them waiting for Tony Sparks in his own hotel room. They kill him. And they say, as they shoot him, they say, and 3 more kisses from the Batman. And that's his last words. Tony Sparks says, the Batman? Now we see Alfred kind of arguing with Bruce. Alfred's saying, you can't really get involved with a woman, sir. You know, your Batman work. There's no room for a woman in there. And Bruce is saying, he's like, you wanted Bruce Wayne to have a life. He's got to have something. You know, I got to have something. So Batman knows it's going to be tough. But in his head, he's like, I'm going to try to find this balance. And the next 3 or 4 issues, a lot of Batman's interior monologue is talking about this struggle to not become just Batman, to have some Bruce Wayne in his life. And the Spectre comes upon the murder scene of Tony Sparks. And it's a murder has been committed. So the Spectre's dark and sacred work begins. The vengeance of the Spectre. And he flies off. Look at him here with how huge his head looks. He almost looks like a Macy's Day, Thanksgiving Day parade float flying through the sky. Now we cut back to Batman talking to Commissioner Gordon. And they're basically musing about what the hell's going on. They're not quite sure what's going on with the Black Mask Gang and Tony Sparks and Chagru. So the Spectre arrives at the mortuary where Mortimer Gunt, the coroner, is working on Tony Sparks' body. And he enters into his body and basically enters into his soul, which is in hell. So he travels down to hell. Tony Sparks is on this rack, just getting burned. That's his just punishment for being an arsonist. And he says, Spectre says, even though you're a murderer, you were murdered, and your murders deserve to be your murder deserves to be avenged. And when he says, tell me who murdered you, Tony says, the Batman. And we have another teaser panel, and it looks like the Spectre is going to be gunning for the Batman. Okay, number 541. It's a crazy cover. Look at that. And we kind of have a little recap. And we see Tony Sparks saying that Batman killed him again. And I like this before he leaves. He basically says, very well, you may resume your punishment undisturbed for eternity. And he turns his hands into a bellows and fans the flames a little. I mean, this guy's being tortured for all eternity by hell. They know what they're doing. But he just adds a little. He's just like, you little bastard. He's got no mercy in him. Now we see the Wayne Corps building. There's a little bit of humor here because Bruce Wayne told Vesper to meet him at his office at Wayne Corps. And the running gag is that Bruce Wayne is never in his office. Lucius Fox runs all of his business. The secretary who's been there for like a year and a half doesn't even recognize him. She's like, sir, you'll have to make an appointment. He's like, I have an office here. I'm Bruce Wayne. Okay, remember what I just said about some of the worst art? I don't know what the hell's going on with these two panels. That is just not Kelly Jones, but apparently it is. And look at this, Lucius Fox. And look at this, another Don Simpson face. I wonder, I guarantee there was some time constraints on this issue, and maybe they'll last a little, but this one even more so. This one has a lot of dud panels, especially for, for Kelly Jones. These Kelly Jones comics have been so spectacular. It's really stands out. God, look at that. That's terrible. Actually, it kind of looks like Jack Kirby. But, yeah, this, I don't know what the hell's going on there. So he doesn't even know how to get to his office. He has to ask Lucius Fox. He's like, where's my office? We cut back to the jail where that Chagru is. And he basically says that those the three triggermen who killed Sparks, he wants them like under wraps. There's this abandoned club called the Dark Side of the Moon. He just wants them to lay low. Some of his other Black Mask lieutenants or whatever sub-lieutenants are going to guard him because the heat is on. It's kind of weird outside the Blackgate prison. It's surrounded by water. And I guess Kelly Jones was just bored, so he drew this shark biting a big fish in the foreground. So Batman's really bored in his office. He doesn't know what to do with himself. But then Vesper shows up for their date. They go out to this restaurant. They're flirting like crazy, doing all this witty repartee back and forth, even though it's not that witty. Sorry, Doug Munch isn't really that great at dialogue. So that later that night, the Spectre goes into stately Wayne Manor, into the basement, the Batcave, and Batman's there. I like this how the Spectre appears as the roof of the Batcave, the ceiling, with all the stalactites or whatever you call those things coming out of his face. And luckily the Spectre, I guess he kind of knows of Batman. So he actually says, "Are you guilty?" He doesn't just start, just kill him just on the word of some criminal, And so the whole thing is cleared up pretty quickly. Batman says, "No, I didn't do that." And he explains it to him. So the Spectre says, "Okay, I guess I won't kill you. I won't turn you into a log and saw you in half." So the Spectre realizes it's those 3 shooters from the Black Mask gang. And he says, "Don't worry about investigating them, Batman. I'll take care of it," which means he's going to fucking mercilessly kill them. So now it's a race against time. Batman's got to find these guys to protect him. So he goes to Blackgate to Dr. Chagru. Chagru seems to change a lot. He is a very malleable head. So basically the Spectre and the Batman are both on the trail, but the Batman's one step behind. Another wicked panel. Just amazingly cool pose. And the Spectre shows up first. And the Batman shows up, but he's not in the inner chamber where the 3 guys are. He's in the outer rooms where the other Black Mask guys are, the ones who are there to protect him. So the Spectre starts, he kills one of the guys with these, he turns his hands into these weird tentacles, which you really can't see. It kind of seems odd that, like, this is like a cool Spectre thing, but they barely show it. I gotta, like, flip back every, when I went to the next page and be like, wait, is that guy dead? Oh, that guy's dead. Okay. It's really kind of hard to see. Also, I gotta say, this page, the one time where I don't like Gregory Wright's colors in the whole series so far. Just these kind of like earth tones and stuff, and this jaundiced yellow. Not liking this. So the whole time that's happening, Batman's outside beating up the guards, trying to find those 3 guys before the Spectre can. The Spectre rips open his whole face, and this thing comes out, this horrifying thing. Looks like something Sam Keith would draw. And he kills these poor bastards. I'm sorry, they're not poor bastards, they're horrible murderers. And Batman breaks in, he's too late. And then they kind of have this total debate, a moral debate. And Batman, we all know this, but Batman is just so ballsy, because the Spectre is basically like a god. And he's just totally being like, "You're a fucking black-hearted murderer. That's what you are. You're not this isn't justice." And it's a pretty interesting conversation, just how Batman doesn't give up an inch. Even though the Spectre's kind of threatening him, he's like, "Oh, what if I look into your soul? I bet I'd find something to punish you for." Ooh, forgot about this. This is like a 60s comic. It looks like Kelly Jones just trying to draw classic style. And Batman says, I loathe killing. I would have just put him in jail. And then it gets kind of weird, the conversation. Spectre, it almost sounds like something from the Bible. The Spectre says, "Then you can have no love for me." And Batman says, "But your power to crush me I respect and even fear. But love, None. Never. It's just very odd to find a Batman saying stuff like that. So basically, the Spectre knows basically Batman's right. He's a good guy. And I guess there's a character in the Spectre, Amy. He says, you remind me of a friend named Amy. She was like you. And in her own way, she was wise. So it's almost like he leaves, he's got a grudging respect for Batman. And then it's kind of a human moment where he says, wait a second, you talked to Tony Sparks in hell? Can you go to heaven? Can you see what's in heaven? It's a nice panel there. And basically he wants to see if his parents are there. And the Spectre says, I can't tell you that, even if I knew. And besides, I'm way more well acquainted with hell than heaven. And basically at the end of the story, Spectre goes back down to hell to check out the three murderers who are right next to Tony Sparks. And I love this. He just goes down there to say that, to tell him, burn forever. And he looks all maniacal. And that's the end of the story, except for the teaser ad for the next issue. Even this teaser panel is so not up to snuff. Look at this hand. I don't know what's going on. This is really worrisome. I mean, it was probably just deadline doom. Kelly Jones ran out of time. Kind of creepy cover. This is another two-parter. This is going to introduce a new character to the Batman Rogues Gallery. Faceless, Part 1, Murdercide. Kind of a funny title. Kind of a very evocative, strange, opening panel. I love the lettering on this credit boxes that Todd Klein does. It's this Art Nouveau type lettering. They use it in the title and the credit box, but that's it. I wish he used it a little more. So we see Batman, stopping a normal type crime. These three hijackers, they're about to shoot the guy driving the truck because they don't want witnesses. And Batman does what he does. He beats up the hijackers, saves the trucker's life, tells him to run and alert the police. Now we're back to some really nice Gregory-Petix colors. These beautiful, rich blues. And Batman kicks the shit out of these guys. That's an interesting pose for Batman, for Kelly Jones Batman. So he takes off. The cops come and get those guys. And the whole time his internal monologue is talking about what I talked about last issue. How he's got to find this internal balance and, he's got to dedicate some time to Bruce Wayne. This might take the cake here. This is like Batman could rent out his cape as a circus tent. This is like 60 feet long cape. It looks pretty fucking cool though. I want a tattoo of that on my arm. Another cool little transition panel. I love those things. So here's we're introduced to our antagonist, Zedno. This post office worker named Joseph Zedno. He's a total nobody. He gets fired. Apparently, he's had more complaints than anyone about mail not getting to its destination. His boss says you can work out your next 2 weeks, So he does. And all of his people on his route, they treat him like a nobody. They talk down to him like a nobody. And the whole time after he leaves, he grumbles. Like, oh, I'm a nobody. But some night. And we see him basically going postal, as they used to say. He's seething. Look how he's colored all red. And all these customers are kind of rude to him. Now we see Bruce Wayne and Vesper's first date. They go to the zoo. And, of course, their little banter continues. And I thought it was interesting, penguins, hyena, kind of looks like the Joker, and a crocodile for Killer Croc. But then it stops. I don't think Batman is a villain called the elephant or the giraffe. Man, look at this horrible panel. Look at that face on Bruce Wayne. God, Kelly Jones, please come back. This is some bad stuff. I mean, there's much worse out there. But we do get another cameo of the puppeteer. This one we basically see his crotch. These two little children are at his crotch level while he's showing them the Batman puppet. We're back to Zen now. He's in his house, and apparently it's full of undelivered mail. That's why he's been getting complaints. They don't really explain why he's been hoarding their mail. It seems like he's not even opening it up. So he's been working out, and he made this tattoo, somebody, to try to convince himself that he was. But he knows he's not. And he basically is doing this whole diatribe, this self-hating diatribe about I'm a nothing, I'm faceless, a nondescript entity. But tonight, the faceless needs a face, even if the face is just a mask. So we see him putting on this weird costume. And the reason why is because he's trying to look like that punk rock guy on his route who kind of talked down to him. And he shows up and he kills him, runs him through with a knife. He writes a strange message on the wall, "Stop me before I kill themselves again," and leaves a photo of himself there. And then he does it again. He finds another person on his route. Oh man, these are some wicked panels of Batman. That fat lady from earlier, with the curlers, he dresses up as her, kills the wife and her husband. Whenever he kills people too, he's just ranting crazy. All these Batman panels are amazing. This is like Kaluta. It's beautiful. And then he kills this other guy, dresses up like him first. He even puts on like a fat suit. And then news of these murders gets out. Commissioner Gordon calls Batman because it's such an odd killing spree. Another nice panel. And so at all the murders, he wrote weird things. One, he wrote murdercide. We already saw that one thing he wrote. And then special deathery. They're kind of dumb, actually. Look at that Batman. Looks like Morticia. So basically, Batman and Gordon are like trying to figure out this guy's MO. Like, what the hell's... This is crazy. Like... So Zeno, one of the people on his route, is this florist. He walks in one day to deliver mail. And who should be buying flowers? For Bruce Wayne, Vesper Fairchild. He bumps into her. And he looks at her for a second and thinks, oh, I could, maybe I'll pay a visit to her. But he's like, nope, she's not on my route. Look at this kooky cartoon florist. And once again, he feels slighted by this florist, and he promises to be back later on that night. And so Batman basically said, Batman calls in Robin. he wants to bounce some ideas off of him. He figures by talking to Robin about this case, maybe they'll figure out what the hell's going on. And I gotta say, look at this horribly drawn Robin. That almost looks like Betty Rubble with a domino mask on. With that haircut. This is like so bad. And yet it's right next to this amazingly cool looking Batman, so I don't know. And then we cut away to later that night, and Zedno, Faceless, is visiting the florist. Look at how cartoony that is. It's like Steve Parkhouse drew this panel. And next, we have number 543. And pretty nice cover. I really like this, the shape of Batman's cape there. And so now we continue. We see Batman and Robin having this discussion. Just bouncing ideas off of each other. We get that cool lettering in the credits again by Ty Klein. Robin doesn't look nearly as ludicrous, thank God, in this issue. And it's basically they're just, Batman's positing his theories to Robin. Robin's questioning him, making up some ideas of his own. Maybe he hates himself. Maybe he hates others. They're trying to get to the bottom of it. I like this. They have a big info dump thing, just like in the 70s. And it's pretty interesting because this is an interesting conversation of these two guys trying to figure out what's up with this guy. There is one thing that seems to link the murders, but it's very, very small. It's all in a certain part of the city. I think it's like the northwest side or something. But of course, that only narrows it down to a million and a half people. So it's not much help. But other than that, Batman can't really think of a link. Because all the victims are totally different. Men, women, different economic backgrounds, no connection. So it makes it hard to find the killer. Robin's haircut seems to change in every panel here. What a bad haircut. You'd think Bruce Wayne could loan him some money to go to a good hairstylist, get a nice haircut, but apparently not. That's a really neat Batman. Kelly Jones, though, even though the past two issues, I think there's been he's been slacking. He still is like trying things out. Like there's certain panels, just like in all the issues, he still continues to do that where it's like, I'm going to try this style. I haven't really done this before. And they're all pretty goddamn cool. Man, that's a great segue panel there. Batman's cape, almost like a theater curtain. So Batman figures, okay, I'll just drive around West Gotham. That's the area. I'll drive around West Gotham, hope to get lucky. And he does. He hears a scream because the florist is getting killed. And Faceless is walking down this alley. He's not far from the flower shop. And Batman finds the flower shop with the, it's got spray paint. Obviously, the Faceless was there. He finds the Faceless victim. I forgot to tell you guys, he also skins the face off of every victim. But we don't know why. It's not like he wears them as a mask or anything. And he sees Faceless, and he's chasing him down an alley. And when he comes out of the alley, there's a big theater crowd that just got let out. So he's like, I'm not going to find him in this crowd. He has no idea. He goes back to the Batcave and Robin is waiting. Alfred gives him some more shit because he received the roses from Vesper Fairchild for Bruce. So he's kind of nagging him, just saying, I don't like where this is heading, Bruce. He also says, what kind of woman would send flowers to a man? So I get Alfred's a little old-fashioned. See, look how beautiful Vesper Fairchild is here compared to so many panels in this comic, which doesn't look a thing like that. In fact, that looks very different too. So it turns out that Vesper lives in West Gotham, and Bruce calls up Vesper. He cancels their date, first of all, but says, Vesper, lock your doors. Be careful. I'm worried about this psycho killer. She knows about him because it's all over the news. Kind of an odd Bruce face. So Batman finally kind of figures it out. He finally realizes it's a postal route. And he says, Robin, get on the computer and figure this out. Who's in charge of this route? What's his name? What's their address? And he takes off in his car. I forgot to mention, it seems like the goofy Duckburg version of the Batmobile is back, which I love. The little Kelly Jones kind of kooky jalopy Batmobile. This almost looks like Mignola to me, some of this. Mignola-esque. And we see that guy. He's looking like, I don't know how he did this, but he looks like a total demon now. These little red eyes. Maybe he's wearing some kind of contacts. I don't know. So Robin finds the information, calls up Batman, gives him the address, and Batman shows up. Of course, a fight ensues. And God, all of a sudden, this guy looks like a giant. And they're fighting in piles of undelivered mail. There's another with a slight tint of Kevin Nolan there. Yeah, look at his eyes here. All of a sudden, he's turned into this monster. He's just a dude. He's just a mailman. And so Batman gets the upper hand and knocks his block off. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Okay, I think he's wearing a mask. Probably a skin mask. I hope so, because that doesn't look real. That looks very unnatural. And as he punches him, the mail kind of falls over his face, and Batman says, faceless to the end. Robin shows up, and that's the end. And look at this teaser, guys. It's going to be the Joker and in a three-parter. So we'll look at that next time we look at these Batmans. Hope you guys looking at these today with me. A little disappointed about these. For the first time, I'm a little disappointed. They're still pretty damn beautifully drawn for the most part, but there's some off panels in these, which I will not tolerate from Mr. Jones and Mr. Beatty. But I guess I'll have to. So hopefully next time they'll turn things around. Maybe they needed a break, and hopefully they got one, and things are back to normal. But some introducing characters and some okay writing. Still pretty just okay writing in all of these. But I guess I'll see you guys next time here at the Herculespetix Academy of Comic Book Studies.